Almost correct.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 7 p.m. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled City Council meeting for July 5th, 2022. The invocation and Pledge of Allegiance will be read by me this evening. Please join me in this prayer. Dear Lord, we ask your blessings on the people who have been called to lead our community in which we live, work, and play. Help us as leaders to ask first, not how do we fix it, but what do we need to learn? How might we need to change? And to whom do we need to listen? Grant us the wisdom and courage to know and do what is right and good and true. May we speak out when it is time to speak out, listen patiently and receptively when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community, the spirit of justice, and the spirit of love. This we pray in the name of all that we hold sacred and holy, all that we hold good and right and true. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everybody. I'll ask Council Clerk Forrest to take roll, please.
Councilmember Perry. Councilmember Wilkins.
Present.
Councilmember Gillig.
Here.
Councilmember Yanatuno. Councilmember Jones.
Present.
Councilmember Leopard.
Here.
And Councilmember Perkins.
Here.
Let the record show that 5 of 7 council members are in attendance this evening. This is now a public hearing. I'd like to open a public hearing here on Tuesday, July 5th in council chambers for consideration of the 2023 tax budget, proposed ordinance 22-48, ordinance adopting a tax budget for fiscal year 2023, attached hereto as a part hereof, and directing the Director of Finance to deliver the budget to the Seneca County Auditor on or before July 20th, 2022, and declaring an emergency. At this time, the microphone is open to any public comments, or if council has any questions on this matter. Seeing none, we'll declare the public hearing closed at 7:03. Did everybody have an opportunity to review their minutes from our June 20th meeting? Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, they will stand approved. We'll move on to committee reports. I have none this evening. Law and for Finance, Law and Community Planning, Councilman Leopard.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Materials and Equipment, Councilmember Jones.
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone have a report from Personnel and Labor Relations?
No report at this time, Mr. President.
Thank you. Recreation and Public Property, Councilmember Wilkins.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Streets, Sidewalks, and Sewers, Councilmember Perkins.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. And Economic Development and Downtown Planning, anyone for that committee?
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Does anyone see a need for a committee of the whole this evening? Seeing none, it is my honor to go to reports of the officers. Her Honor, Acting Mayor Bridget Boyle.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple things tonight. First of all, I want to thank everyone who made it out for the 4th of July celebration at Hedges Boyer. Definitely was a success. Thank you to Mark Scheid and Bicentennial Committee for organizing Darrell Worley's performance and bringing the descendants of the first settlers to the park. Additionally, 5-Star Maintenance for their generous donation to the fireworks and concert. Derek Metrez for donating flags, and Councilman Steve Leopard, Josh Randell, and Reineke Family Dealerships for helping organize the car show. There were so many other people who helped out with this event, but I also certainly want to especially recognize our Parks and Recreation Department, who work hard every year to bring this to our community, as well as a big thank you to the police and fire departments, Seneca County Sheriff's Office, and CERT for lending a hand with security and safety services. Also, tonight we'll be reading Ordinance 2269, dealing with the City of Tiffin Trail Connectivity Project. Last week, Andrew Kellnell delivered a donation of $125,956 towards the project, which covers 80% of costs associated with the river portion of the trail. Altogether, covers nearly 50% of the total cost. We greatly appreciate Mr. Kellnell's gift, which, like the East Green, goes a long way towards improving our community while reducing the cost for our taxpayers. Thank you very much for that. Additionally, upcoming events, North Coast Band is the Thursday night tunes artist performing at the East Green Amphitheater Thursday evening. Also on the East Green, the next performer for the 2022 concert series is Basil and the Supernatural plays at 8 p.m. Saturday. Apologies if I mispronounced that. Farmers Market is Saturday morning in downtown Tiffin. The 70th annual St. Joseph Catholic Church Festival is this weekend. In addition to Tiffin's local Arbor Day celebration is at 10 a.m. July 13th at Hedges Boyer with a tree planting ceremony in conjunction with Explore Nature Camp through the Tiffin Parks and Recreation Department. Next week, No Eileen is the featured artist on July 14th. So that concludes as far as the events. Also tonight, Janet Shutt is here tonight to present a check for the Parks Department to be used for the fencing of the new playground. So Janet, if you'd like to approach, and you're welcome to say anything that you would like.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Okay. Soft voice. My name is Janet Shutt, and I am a member of the Board of Commissioners of the Seneca County Park District. And I am here tonight to present a check to you, a grant from the Seneca County Park District's Community Park Grants Program. The Park Board is committed to a promise we made back in 2016 when our district's operating levy was approved to continue a grant program to help provide high-quality recreation locations throughout the county. This year was a rather competitive process for our grant seekers. Over $165,000 was requested by the political entities throughout the county, and 84,000 of funding was available. The Tiffin Parks and Recreation Department was among the applicants. So I am pleased on behalf of the Seneca County Park District to present this check in the amount of $35,659 to be used toward the cost of the installation of the safety fence for the inclusive play structure in Hedges Boyer Park. Congratulations.
Wow.
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want to come? Do you want to come this way?
Come through. Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's tricky. It took me a couple times.
All right.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. Okay, just one last item, and for my report, Mr. President, I have City Engineer Matt Watson here tonight to give us a few project updates his team has been working on, and we thought it would be beneficial for the public and council to hear. So, Matt, if you can enlighten us on a few of these, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Boyle. Good evening, everyone. So in efforts to be transparent with not only City Council, but to the public, thought it would be a good idea to come before you, especially as we're asking for suspension on two pieces of legislation tonight as it pertains to the Ellis Street River Bridge and the Trail Connectivity Project. So just wanted to give an update with each of those projects. So first off, I'll start with the Ellis Street River Bridge. Last Monday on June 27th, we had our public bid opening for the construction contract for that project. I will say at the beginning of the year, our engineer's estimate for that construction contract was about $3.25 million. Within that $3.25 million estimate, there was a 6% contingency. As we worked through the design, as you all know, We've seen a lot of inflation throughout the country through this year. So right before we went to advertising bids and submitting our final plans to ODOT for this project, we took another look at that engineer's estimate. And at that time, about April, we increased our engineer's estimate from the $3.25 million to $3,929,270. And that included a 9.9% contingency. When we opened bids last Monday, we received 6 bids. Our lowest bid was from E.S. Wagner Company out of Oregon, Ohio. And the lowest bid was $4,155,511.67. The 6 bids we received ranged from that $4,155,511.67 to $4,625,763.70. So I'll remind you, we had previously received $2.5 million in grant funding for this project. We received $2 million from the ODOT Municipal Bridge Program, which was the maximum amount we could receive. We also received $500,000 from the Ohio Public Works Commission, which was also the maximum amount you could receive from that funding source. So off of our $3.25 million original estimate, we were thinking we were only going to have to put in about $700,000 in local funding for our portion of that project. So we got hit with that extra $1 million that we've seen in our lowest bid. So now we're on the hook for almost $1.7 million locally, but we are still committed to ensuring that there's going to be no long-term loans for this project. And there's 2 reasons behind that. That we're going to be able to still satisfy our original intent, and one is the road and bridge levy. So again, the importance of that road and bridge levy, and as we've worked through the implementation of that road and bridge levy for the last, I believe, 3 years now, we've made sure that we set enough money off to the side in preparation for this project. I mean, we could have paved more roads over the last 3 years, but obviously we set ourselves up and held enough back that even with this $1 million hit, we're still able to ensure that we're not going forward with any long-term loans. The second reason is the good stewardship of Mayor Montz and City Council in the past to get that unencumbered balance in the general fund up to what it is today, in excess of $5 million. So I commend the efforts of Finance Director Kathy Kaufman, City Administrator Dale Thornton, Law Director Brent Howard. After that bid opening last Monday, I worked to get some numbers together, and we had conversations in our project coordination meeting last week, and we figured out, how we can make this work. And it's really twofold. Essentially, all the local responsibility, that $1.7 million, still going to be funded through road and bridge levy funds. But we still need to utilize some of that general fund money in case that we need to advance any money at the end of the year for any large bills that might come in on this project to make sure that the budget is balanced. Impacts that we're going to see from this increased cost is although the general fund's at an all-time high, I think we need to be fiscally responsible as we work through next year, because not only in addition to the Ellis Street River Bridge, next year we have the urban paving project where we're going to be resurfacing South Washington Street from St. Joe's Church down to Glen Street near Kraut School, as well as West Market Street from Elmer Street to South Sandusky. That's a reimbursement grant, just like that $2 million grant that we received from ODOT for the Municipal Bridge Program. And then we also have the East Perry Street reconstruction project next year, which is about a $1.2 million project. So there's, between those 3 projects, we're looking at over $6 million in infrastructure projects, which are all being funded by reimbursement grants. So if you got to the end of the year and we had a large invoice coming in on all 3, there might need to be some advances off that general fund. Also, in order to ensure that we're not going to have any long-term debt, unfortunately, I had to significantly cut the amount of roads that I wanted to pave next year. So as you've seen you'll see and read, there's a request for legislation tonight to move forward with a loan application from the Ohio Public Works Commission for next year. We had been talking about that. We were going to ask for a $500,000 loan to help offset street paving costs next year to ensure that we're paving quite a bit of roads. And this is more important now than ever because I cut about $330,000 out of our street paving budget list that I was proposing for next year, 13 streets. So most of those roads will all back up, unfortunately, 1 year to 2024. But unfortunately, that's just what we have to do to ensure that we're moving forward fiscally responsible. However, I will note that it's not that bad. The OPWC project that we're planning to move forward with next year is a $615,000 project. That urban paving project that we're moving forward with next year is a $600,000 project. So we're still going to be paving in excess of about $1.2 million. And if you remember, before the road and bridge levy, we were paving $300,000 to $400,000 a year. And to stay on that 15 to 20 year paving cycle, we were shooting for $800,000 to $1 million annual investment. So I do feel comfortable that it's not like we're going to have a bad year or a back year, but unfortunately we're not going to get to some of the roads that are in need. And I can agree that they should have been paved a few years ago, but they might unfortunately have to back up the list one additional year. Moving forward with the Ellis Street River Bridge project as far as schedule. So ODOT requires us to award the project by August 1st. That's why it is pivotal tonight that for the suspension of ordinance 22-60, because we do not want to jeopardize the $2 million in federal funding that we received from ODOT. Anticipating that the ordinance is suspended this evening, we have a Board of Control meeting set up for July 25th, in which we plan to award the contract to the apparent low bidder, E.S. Wagner. And then we'll start working through finalizing a contract with that contractor, hoping to be under contract with them officially by September. Then this fall, we will have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor and the utility companies, Tiffin City Schools, and really define that game plan moving forward. I would expect that the contractor may start clearing trees on the banks this fall. Because we do have environmental requirements that restrict the time period when trees can be cut due to Indiana bat and other endangered species. And then they'll also probably begin purchasing and ordering materials for a lot of the longer lead item materials for the bridge this fall as well. However, you really won't see construction start until at the earliest May 1st of next year. This is when they have access to the river. So there is time periods when there's restrictions for work in the river through the Army Corps of Engineers. And May 1st is the first date that they can begin working in the river. So hopefully flows are low in the river. Hopefully we have a drier spring next year. And then they can begin setting up their cofferdams for construction as early as May 1st, like I said. And then full closure of Ellis Street cannot happen until after Memorial Day of 2023. We're hoping for a 180-day closure, but obviously that could be extended if the contractor has legitimate reasons such as, delays due to weather, high flows in the river, utility coordination that's needed with Aqua and AT&T to relocate their facilities, things like that. So we are shooting for 180 days and hoping to be done by the end of the 2023 construction season, but there are things out there that could delay the project and extend it into the spring of 2024. But essentially the schedule was set to only impact Tiffin City Schools on one school year. So we didn't want to start prior to May of 2023 because they're gonna have to re-coordinate their whole busing plan and everything like that to get students to the middle school. We didn't want to impact the back end of one school year, and the front end of the other. It was just being good stewards and coordinating that project. So that's my update on that one. If anyone has any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
No. Okay. I think we're good to move into the trail connectivity one.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yep, so the trail connectivity project, as Mayor Boyle stated, we received a check from Mr. Cownow. He kind of transpired the project to get it to where we are today. Originally, I remember I had that in my last two city council annual updates that one of my 5-year goals was to create a connected trail system through the city of Tiffin, and I actually had submitted the project 2 years ago to the Dream Big Tiffin initiative through TSEP. And through that committee is when a lot of the conversations happened, and we got to the point of having some more detailed conversations in the winter, last winter, on moving the project forward. Looking back, City Council passed legislation April 4th approving funding for the design of that project. So almost exactly 3 months to date, we took a project that was nothing more than a concept, and we developed that into a reality in a 45-page of plans. So we worked with OHM, a consulting firm. They did a great job for us, and we made it a priority within our office. So I can't commend my staff enough that assisted me with getting the project to where it was today. But essentially what the project is proposing is to install shared lane markings and signage on 11.4 miles of our roadways within the city of Tiffin. And Bryce Kuhn, the Parks and Rec director, was heavily involved in the project. And what it does is it creates a safe and connected bicycle route through our city while connecting our existing trails and many of our existing parks. So with this project, there's going to be the installation of 460 shared lane pavement markings, 262 signs, and 171 signposts installed. The overall estimated cost is approximately $256,000, and we plan to bid the project in 2 contracts. So we have 1 contract for striping and 1 contract for signage. We're really pushing the window to get this project constructed yet this year. That was the expectation that was put on us in April, and I'll be the first to admit, even though we seem to move things forward very quickly in our office, I did have a lot of concerns of being able to meet that time frame. But we did work a month ahead of schedule with the consultant, and I do think it is possible now to get this project installed yet this year, but it will need Ordinance 2261 passed this evening under suspension. And if passed this evening, the plan moving forward is to begin advertising this project yet later this week within the local newspaper for the construction contract, and have a bid opening at that same Board of Control meeting on July 25th. So I prepared bid books for the project last week in anticipation of hopeful council's consideration of that suspension, and I set a completion date of October 1. So that'll give the contractor about 2 months to get the project constructed from the time that we would be under contract with them. So again, appreciate Mr. Cownow's support of the project, appreciate City Council's support through the previous passage of legislation, and open to questions if council has any for me on that project as well.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Does anyone have any questions for Matt regarding any of those 2 projects? Yes. Oh, sorry. This is your, I'm used to it, I'm sorry.
Law Director Howard.
Thank you. On the trail connectivity project, both the contracts that you're talking about, they'd be separate contracts, one for signage, one for striping. Both of them would be bid, correct? The ordinance that you have, 22-61, talks about a contract for the project. And I know I've heard this before, and I apologize. Sometimes I do that, sneak the contracts in, because there's a chance in different bidding projects that we have more than one. So what I would suggest, to make it clear of what council's authority is, that there are 3 places in the ordinance, 22-61, where it would be better served for the project that it clearly state that these are contracts. And it would be in the title, so it'd be recommend and execute contracts for the trail connectivity project. So the word A would be omitted, deleted before contract, and the S would be added. Same changes in section 1 with awarding of contracts with the lowest and best bids for the project. And then in section 2, the city administrator is authorized to execute on behalf of the city contracts for the project. probably if we didn't do that, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It could still work. But I think to make it clear what council's authority is, I would ask that you could, since we don't have this, to make the record clear, let's introduce it as it was prepared, and then by motion, have it amended to add those changes that I just read through, so that the final then document will have reference to contracts and bids. Any questions or concerns about that?
No, that's perfectly fine with me. And the reason we are planning to bid it in 2 contracts, just for an explanation, is I did not feel that there was a contractor that would want to take on managing those 2 scopes of work. They're so equal almost in value amount when you look at the overall project. That did a striping contractor want to handle a signage contractor, and did a signage contractor want to handle a striping contractor. I figured by doing 2 separate contracts, we wouldn't have the markup we would if somebody was managing another contractor. So I think in the end, that's a cheaper alternative for the city to save money.
And just add to that, legally, if this, and I had heard about this before, legally, if it would have caused one of the contracts to be an unbid contract, I would probably question that. But because they're both bid contracts, then we're not bypassing the public bidding law. So we are getting, hopefully through the bidding process, the lowest and best bid for each contract for the city.
Councilman Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a comment. With construction season going on, vacation season upon us, how in the world did you get this done in such a short period of time?
Like I said, I had a lot of support from the staff. Jason and Ryan helped out a lot on this one. The consultant, OHM, they stepped up. They really did. I admire the services they provided the city. So, you know, this was supposed to be a leaner construction year, heavy on design. We asked for the Harvest Lane project, which we bid also on Monday, and we're adding this one in. So things really changed, but, you know, we came through, and I greatly appreciate, you know, the support that I had in the office to help get this one to the finish line.
Congratulations to you and your staff. It's remarkable job getting that all done in a very short period of time.
Agreed.
Are there any sketches of the trail available for viewing?
So I have a concept map that I could provide if everyone wishes. And what that essentially is an aerial photograph of the city. And it shows in, I believe, red where the existing trails are. And then everything in yellow on that shows where the shared lane markings will be placed on the roadways to create that overall connected trail system. So it is pretty neat to see. It connects Riverview Park, where we just put the walking path in off of Gale and Gary Lane, Longfellow area. It utilizes the Nature Trails Park that we just put on East Davis Street, Sheckelhoff Park, Oakley Park, and then uses, you know, the Benner Street Trail, like I call it, it goes from the fairgrounds all the way down to around the train depot, connects the Rock Creek Trail that we worked with the Tiffin Community Foundation to install a few years back. So it's really that connection. So that's what we were lacking. We had a lot of segregated trails that weren't connected, and this just creates that connection piece, and hopefully it'll be a destination for our city.
So this is, you know, just my teacher mind work. And how were you able to visualize connecting all of them?
Just a group effort, you know, like I said, Bryce Kuhn was heavily involved and pinpointed the areas that he'd like to see be connected in. We also utilized Tiffin City Council. You guys passed funding in the past to support an active transportation plan. So we took the basis from, you know, the active transportation plan was great. I think that was a 100-year implementation, and a lot of these trails would be beneficial in the future to get off the roadway and continue to develop it. But do you want to create the connection first, or do you just want to piecemeal it out over a 20 to 40-year timeframe? We felt connection should be the highest priority, and then we continue to develop our trail system from there as we see the amount of users we have, how they're using the trail, and so forth. So a combination of the active transportation plan, internal conversations amongst the administration, and then Mr. Cownow had his vision with a portion of it. And as Mayor Boyle had stated, and Finance Director Kaufman and the previous meeting this evening, it made sense to do it all at one time. As I said, there's 460 pavement just let alone the cost and the markup of doing a second time. But I appreciate the support to do it one time because of the amount of work that would place on my office. And bidding multiple projects, having the support staff out there, working with the contractor to get the exact location of the pavement markings and things like that is a significant amount of time. So I know a long-winded answer there, but if you want the map, I'd be more than happy to send that to council all tomorrow.
I would love that. Thank you. Any other questions, Councilmember Perkins?
Just one quick question here. With the bridge, I know that our bridge are all on rating systems on replacement needs. When would the next bridge need replaced?
I think we're doing pretty good there. So they're all on that 1 to 9 rating scale.
Right.
Our next lowest rated bridge is a 5.
Okay.
Grant funding doesn't even become available till it's a 4.
Okay.
So our focus, this is hopefully the last bridge we have in the next 5 years, because most of the time, Ellis Street River Bridge, I applied for that grant in 2018, I believe.
Ooh, okay.
So it takes a long time to go through that federal process. So I don't envision any more bridge replacements in the next 5 years, and my focus will be to get our culverts up to par over the next 5. So after the next 5, our culverts will be in good shape, and then if any of those 5 and 6 rated bridges start declining to a 4, we'll actively go after funding them.
Okay.
But I think we're in pretty good shape, and the Harvest Lane was our worst culvert, and that's going to be getting taken care of this August. So the bid for that project, might as well give you the update, came in at $85,000. So very happy with where we had 5 bidders on that one. I always thought that might be a more costly project and kind of the reason of putting it off till Ellis Street was done, but we were able to do all the plans internally in our office on a fly, haven't seen the issue.
Okay.
So that we're going on out there, and we saved a significant amount of money.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions for Matt?
I can see it going up.
Councilmember Jones.
I had a question, but Director Law, Howard, and yourself already explained it. And I'm sure you don't want me helping with this project, because I thought one contractor versus 2, you paint a line, you come to pound in a post, you paint a line, you got the people power there. You would think they would go through as simple as that, but evidently it's not
Yeah,
that simple.
the contractor, there's more contractors out there that just specialize strictly in pavement markings, and then there's contractors that specialize in signage installation, guardrail installation, things like that. So I think we'll do better by having separate contracts.
Thank you, Matt.
Yep, thank you.
And that concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor Boyle. We'll move on to our next report, Clerk of Council Ann Forrest.
No report, Mr. President.
Thank you. Director of Finance, Kathy Kaufman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 reports for you tonight. I have the month of May and also the month of June to report for. So for May 31st, 2022, total receipts for the month were $3,383,392.92. Total expenses were $3,142,836.57. The general fund unencumbered balance was $5,083,374.67. Income tax receipts for May 2022 were $1,104,141.21. Total increase in income tax receipts in May 2022 compared to May 2021 was $7,567.73. Overall, the income tax receipts were up annually 18.86%, 18.86% at the end of May. The 0.25% portion of income tax receipts that was transferred into the public streets, Fund 215 for May, was $136,196.97. Now, that particular transfer, because of something that went wrong with the report, didn't actually show until the June report. But I just wanted to let you know that that was the amount that should be there. The unexpended balance for all funds is $35,193,984.05, which is the same as the bank balances for the same time period. And that concludes my report for May. Now for June, total receipts for the month were $6,911,892.72. Total expenses were $6,639,829.04. The general fund unencumbered balance is $4,980,698.60. Income tax receipts for June 2022 were $1,023,627.10. And I believe that was down a little bit compared to June 2021. And the amount that it was down was $29,708.27. But still annually, year-to-date, we are up for annual income tax receipts about 15.01%. The 0.25% portion of income tax receipts that was transferred into Fund 215 for June was $125,463.68. The unexpended balance for all funds is $35,466,047.73, which is the same as the bank balances for the same time period. And that concludes my report for June.
Thank you, Kathy. I'd like to entertain a motion for approval of the finance director's reports as considered or as presented and the bank reconciliations. If someone could make that motion this evening. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would so move that we accept and approve the financial reports and the bank reconciliations for the months of May and June 2022.
Very good. Do we have a second? Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the finance director's reports as presented to City Council along with the bank reconciliation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes unanimously, 5-0. And Director of Law, Brent T. Howard.
Thank you. I want to provide some information about the process for filling the mayor vacancy. Some information might be a reminder of some of the things that we've talked about. The first is that 4 votes are needed to elect a new mayor. The 7 voters are the ward council members and the at-large council members. Ben Gillig, as the president pro tem, he retains his right to vote on this matter. The question has been raised is, may a candidate vote for themselves? And I wanted to give you my opinion that yes, they can. And the rationale for that opinion is that, first of all, in the charter, it clearly defines that City Council has the responsibility, in fact, duty to fill the vacancy, and that council members are clearly eligible to be considered. So you might think, is that a conundrum? You know, up until this past year, where the charter was changed, you could only consider council members. Now you can consider by charter not only council members, who may be the logical people that might be interested, but anyone in the community, any qualified elector of the community that is otherwise meets the qualifications of the charter for an elected official. In the further the analysis is that in your code sections, you have adopted rules, and you have part of that is in section 121.02, you've adopted a rule that says that you are governed, your actions are governed by Robert's Rules of Order, unless you have a specific rule that may apply to a situation. And there is no particular rule that you have about whether you can vote for a matter for yourself. So Robert's rules would seem to then apply to this particular question. Looking at Robert's Rules of Order, 11th edition, page 407, it does allow a person to vote for oneself for an election. I'll later talk about some of the rationale for Robert's Rules. I found an Ohio Ethics Commission advisory opinion just recently, 2021-2, that rendered the opinion that a member of a legislative body of a local government, they are not prohibited from voting to elect themselves to serve as a presiding officer of the entity, provided that any additional pay is set prior to the vote. So this fact pattern is a little different than what we have, because in that fact pattern, the members of council could only consider themselves and they were the only voters for electing somebody who is the presiding officer of that body, and that for those duties, they would receive additional pay. But some of the rationale in that decision, I think, applies to this case. One in particular is that it references the Robert's Rules of Order that I mentioned before. And in doing so, it talks about the irrational results is the terminology if you wouldn't allow someone to vote for themselves in these kind of situations. Maybe also you might look at it in terms of practical issues. Would there be a practical problem if you were prohibited? And what I mean by that is if a council member was precluded, in this case, instead of 4 of 7 that you would need to approve, we would have 4 of the 5 voters. So it would make it a smaller group. Think about this situation. It may not be, it's not what we have at the moment, but there could be a situation where more than 2 members of council wish to be mayor. Let's say 4. So if 4 members of council wish and desired to be mayor and self-nominated, and they were precluded from voting, then there would be only 3 voters, and by your rule, that's not even a majority. So you'd be stuck. So I think that's the rationale that is an example of why Robert's Rules of Order says that you may, for an election, you can vote for yourself in these situations. There is not a particular ethics opinion on exactly our factual situation. It could be considered in a future situation by the Ethics Commission. They wouldn't look back on the situation, but they may look prospectively at other situations that would be more like what we have. But as I read the law, our charter, which has, again, established a duty for all of 7 of you to elect and fill the vacancy, and allows you all to be considered as candidates, and given the basis of your rules, of Robert's Rules of Order, I believe that the candidates that self-nominated who serve on council are eligible to vote for themselves. So that's one opinion and information I wanted to give you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions about it. The last item, though, that I have that I also would like to have you take some action, if you choose, to clarify the voting that will take place. I understand that you have established certain rules about voting, but what I want to address is will you have a roll call vote, or is there an alternative that might be a more fair and open process? And let me explain. Traditionally, for ordinances and resolutions, and required by charter, you have roll call vote, meaning that a name is, the clerk runs through the names and you out loud express your vote on a particular matter. Usually it's yes or no on a ordinance or resolution. That follows a rule, and I referred previously to section 121.02 of the Tiffin Code, and you have a Rule 9, which says that special meetings of council will follow the order of roll call at the previous regular meeting. So what that means is that if you would do a roll call vote at your special meeting next week, you would follow the voting order of tonight's meeting, because we rotate, as you may know, at meetings. And I'm not looked to see what that might have meaning for the voting, but that's how the roll call would vote. You can follow that procedure. There is, I guess, some past practice that you might consider that is a fair process. The other process, though, that you may want to consider, and that's what I'm offering you as an additional alternative, and that is to avoid this possible benefit that a candidate receiving the first votes in this roll call process, which may influence later votes. Not saying that it will, because we have 7 strong independent council members, but the fact is that it could under certain circumstances. And is there an alternative? One alternative could be to have signed written ballots that are used to vote. And they would be voted on simultaneously. So everybody would vote in writing at the same time. They would be immediately given to the clerk of council, who would read who voted and the vote of each council member and who they voted for. One thing we have to balance that and to assure is that we do not violate the open meeting law. Secret ballots are by case law specifically, and some language of the open meeting law prohibited. The public has a right to know each member's vote on any matter before council. So by providing, though, the written ballot, this may balance that concern of, will a roll call vote influence later votes? But at the same time, we want to make sure that it is a very open, real-time process. So in the process of using a written ballot, it would still provide what I would consider the public having meaningful access to council's deliberations, because everything would be out in the open, and that the public would be able to determine how the participants, council members, voted in real time. I mean, everyone would know in the room, and anyone watching on the internet, that who voted for which candidate immediately after they're read, within moments of casting a ballot. And I offer that as an alternative if you are concerned that the traditional roll call vote is in some way less fair to the process. I'm not convinced that either way is necessarily better. I offer this as advice to council, and I would suggest, though, that you would pass a motion, whatever way you choose, so that there is clear direction of council that they approve the method for voting. Are there any questions about, I guess, any of my comments, including some of my opinions and advice?
Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. One of the council members asked at the other meeting, and we talked about transparency through this whole thing. Was there going to be a written vote? And I think the answer was definitely not, has to be transparent to the community. Understand your alternative, but I believe we have to be open and real time and go by roll call. And if Perry was first up tonight, Councilmember Wilkins would be first up on the 11th and go right on down the line. If we don't have our minds made up by 6:30, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock on the 11th, I guess we're ill-formed council members when it comes to electing a mayor for a short period of time, and we need to keep asking more questions before we vote on it. So I say definitely no to written ballots turned in. To me, it's like a reverse raffle. There's 100 names in, 100 numbers. Boop. The 100th name, someone could have that in their hand and boom, 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 and all of a sudden, oh, this person. So no to a written vote, in my opinion.
Okay, I think we'll get some further clarification on that. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you. Further clarification, if Perry votes first tonight, he will vote first at the next meeting.
Law Director Howard.
Yes, I believe that's what your rule says, is that the special meetings that may follow a regular meeting, the same order at that special meeting would follow the meeting of roll call vote of the immediately prior regular meeting. So you are correct in that to interpret Rule 9, if the order here is Perry, Wilkins, Gillig, Yanatuno, Jones, Leopard, Perkins, that's how the order for roll call voting would be at the special meeting.
Councilmember Leopard.
And thank you, Mr. President. And I also agree. I think a voice vote is in order. And I would so move if discussion is over.
Well, I suppose I'm looking more for clarification as to what the ballot would mean. I think what this would be is we would write who our vote would be, and then, Council Clerk Forrest would then read off, Zach Perkins votes for Ronald McDonald, Vicki Wilkins votes for the Hamburglar. It would be read off in real time. I don't know where that reference came from. I apologize. Apparently I've got McDonald's on my mind. It would be essentially the same as the roll call, but we would have our vote and then Ann would read off who we selected. I don't know if that's more helpful. Councilmember Jones, sure.
Thank you, Mr. President. No, that was not more helpful. That was worse helpful.
That was much worse. I threw you off with Grimace and the Hamburglar.
Wasn't that? If one person in the city of Tiffin thinks these 7 written ballots read by clerk of council, if one person thinks there's something, and I don't know what other word than shady is, discredits the vote. So I'm saying no to a written thing, and I'll stand by it.
Completely understand your rationale. Here's where I was thinking. For me, it almost seems less shady because, if, say, for example, someone gets the first 2 votes, well, then would council members think to themselves, okay, well, that's the way the tide is going, so perhaps I'll switch my vote. Whereas if we all write down our choice, hand them to the council clerk, and the council clerk then reads our choices aloud, I feel like that might just eliminate any possibility of that being even a consideration. That, I waited for, Councilmember Perry to vote, and when he said someone, I thought, okay, well, now I'm going to change. And again, I don't think that would happen with any of us, to be quite frank. I really don't, but just to avoid that appearance, this would be maybe a good step to put in. But I completely understand your rationale. Mayor Boyle?
Yeah, am I able to
Oh,
weigh in?
please.
Okay. The one maybe suggestion too, because I agree with President Gillig, would be if Councilman Jones, your concern is that perhaps the public would be concerned that the ballot was, waving in favor of someone of the other or something. Is there a way that we could perhaps present the ballot to the public, I don't know, on display, whether it's social media or whatever, prior to the meeting to show this is what exactly the council members will be filling out. I don't know, just to, again, have that transparency, but also accomplish what President Gillick outlined is again, not that we ever think that any of our votes are swayed based with tide is going. However, this would just eliminate that altogether as far as that even being a potential assumption of the public as well.
Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you. I'm not opposed to writing my name, signing my name to the ballot when I vote for Mr. Burger King. I guess I will rely on Director of Law's opinion if we can do that.
Councilmember Perkins.
So just quickly here. So a controversial topic, we're going to now change the way we vote. So does that mean other controversial topics before? Because this is controversial, of course. So maybe DORA or whatever in the past that we did as roll calls and we verbally said, was those votes swayed? That's what it's starting to tell me. That, oh, well, we don't necessarily completely believe in our system. We might need to change that now.
Fair point.
That seems a little interesting.
That is a fair point.
Yeah.
I suppose I would like to know what the voice vote would look like. Would we present each slate or each candidate and we would vote yes or no on each
Right.
of them, and then we'd just tally
I would think
votes that
we
way?
would say a name, but I don't know.
Law Director Howard.
Yeah, let me just make a couple comments. I guess one of the reasons I was trying to determine, and I don't want to influence, I guess, council's decision of what is the most fair and open process, because it is ultimately your decision. For legislative action, the charter is very clear that the voting shall be by roll call, and the vote of each member shall be recorded in the journal. So by ordinance and resolution, you have to do it the way we've been doing it. And I guess I understand that there's a question, does this suggest that the way the charter is worded is somehow less open or fair to
Right.
the outcome of any vote? Is an election, I'm posing questions that I will just let you answer. Is an election of a person to an office different than voting on a particular ordinance or resolution? I will tell you, though, that this gives me some pause, and the reason for that is that there is some legal risk for this. Anytime you change and do something different, it can be considered and challenged, and objections can be made. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to have a secret ballot. And I think we had, I believe that when the written ballot was suggested at the last meeting, it was considered a secret ballot. And there is a case not too many years ago from the village of Braytonall, which is around Cleveland, where they were electing someone as the president pro tem of their body, and they did a secret ballot. They wrote it down. They did not immediately tell the public who voted for whom. They did retain those votes, and months, almost a year later, they made them available to the public. Unfortunately, there were sticky notes on them. It was unclear that it even supported what happened at the meeting. So there was a lot of problems with it. But the court was clear, the Supreme Court of Ohio, clear that that was circumventing the open meeting law. That in that case, they said there was not meaningful access given to the public to understand what council was doing, and that and to determine what the votes were. So my suggestion was trying to deal with what could be a factor when you vote on an election by seeing who is getting the votes early on, but that may not be a concern for you. And maybe I'm overstepping my bounds a little bit because it's your election to define the rules on how you do it. I'm just throwing out some suggestions for you to consider what is the most fair and open process, because ultimately that's how we will be judged. And you need to determine whether a change in the procedure needs to be made or not.
Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not want to do anything to put this council at a legal risk. So my opinion will be roll call, voice vote, as we have done in the past.
Very well stated. Now, here's where I'm still running into trouble, which is probably not good since I have the gavel. But will we then, I nominate, say, the Noid for the office of mayor, and then we look for a second, and then we do a vote that way? Or, you know, I'm just really not looking as to what the vote looks like.
I think you've already determined the method for voting in terms of that you would have all nominees would be on the ballot, and council members would currently, by roll call, vote for one of the four candidates, and that would be at the conclusion of the vote of 7, you would have the first ballot, and if there is not a majority, if there's a majority, then the vote is over and you've elected a person to fill the vacancy. If you do not have a majority, 4 votes in favor of one person, then whoever receives the least number of votes will be removed from a second ballot, and you will then vote on those remaining members or remaining persons, and you'll continue in that fashion until you vote a majority votes in favor of one person to fill the vacancy. That was what my understanding, that the procedure that you had approved, not at the last meeting, but the meeting before.
So we'll be giving our vote out loud?
Verbally, yeah.
Yes, out loud.
Okay.
In that process, yes.
That's excellent information to review. I know that was a bit of a silly question on my part, but if we can make sure, Nick, that we have, you know, those things summarized, you know, for any press releases we may do, I think that would be very helpful to see on our social media. Any other thoughts on this matter? Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. Someone threw out a new adjective for me. I said before, we need an open vote, we need a real-time vote, and fair. We need a fair vote. 4 days ago, we sat here. Someone asked, are we going to do a secret ballot? And the answer from a certain individual was flat out, no, we have to be open and transparent. So I don't know how else I can word it.
We are.
Sir?
I'm not sure what you're upset about, to be.
I'm not upset. I'm just saying, sounds like we're doing a what if, and we talked 4 days ago?
And we've already established, and now.
We have?
No, well, I believe so. Brent just went over the procedure. Are you asking why we would consider changing something that we already had established?
I thought we were still in discussion mode of should we change it.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
And you are not in favor?
Correct.
Very good. Okay.
And I have a better question in that, since Director of Law Howard brought it up. I was going to wait till the 11th to ask, and there's no such thing as a silly question. But what if the first vote of 7 of us, it comes out 3 for one candidate, 2 for the other, 1 and 1? Does that mean the 2 low vote getters drop off?
Yes.
I think that's what you agreed to. It's your rule. I believe that that's
just
my
wanna be clear on
understanding of how the process would go, and you move forward with the candidates that do not have the least votes. But you can clarify with, if there's a concern that's.
I would think so.
That
Yeah,
seems
that would make most
reasonable.
sense, yeah.
That was the intention of what we proposed.
And thank you for bringing, that's an excellent scenario to consider, you know, just in case. Very well done, Councilman Jones. Councilmember Leopards.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Did I just call you leopards? Did I make you plural there? Did I just call you Councilmember Leopards?
One's enough.
One's
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So our next special meeting will be like the last meeting where we will ask questions again and then vote, correct?
Yes,
If council members have questions.
yes. Councilmember Jones.
And thank you, Councilmember Leopard. That clears that up because ask more questions. And if the 7 of us don't have our minds made up when we do that first vote, I'm sorry, we did not do our homework. We are not doing the city of Tiffin a justice. And I don't have my cell phone with me. I can't believe the other 6 of you, cell phones aren't buzzing saying, what are you even discussing there tonight? So I'll stand down.
Very good. Any other discussion on the matter? Do we have any motion for how we wish to proceed, or I suppose we will wait for that? Councilmember Jones.
I'll make a motion on the July 11th meeting, special election for election of the next mayor for fulfill the 1.5-year timeframe is done by a voice roll call, starting with
Barry.
Councilmember Perry. That's my motion.
I suppose, if I may ask the law director, do we need to make a motion if we're not changing anything?
This is different than legislative action, so I think that would be probably helpful to clarify, confirm what the process is. So I see nothing wrong with having a motion, just like you are established a process at your earlier meeting about how you would proceed to vote on all nominees.
Okay, we have a motion as presented by Councilmember Jones to proceed with the voice vote at the special meeting on July 11th for the selection of mayor. Do we have a second? Councilmember Leopard.
I'll second the motion, but I would also like to have included in that question and answer period as well.
Is that okay, Councilmember Jones?
Yes, I thought that was a given, but yes, that's okay.
In some ways, that's a separate subject matter that I don't know that, I would say that as chair, you could consider that kind of out of order, if you will, because it's a separate issue of kind of what transpires at the meeting. You're talking about voting in particular.
Correct.
Okay. So we do have a motion as presented. Councilman Leopard, would you like to second Councilman Jones still?
No, because I would like the question and answer
Very good.
session be part of the motion.
Do we have a second? Councilmember Perkins?
Yes, I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to select the mayor at the July 11th meeting via voice vote. Any discussion? Okay, seeing now, Councilmember Leopard.
So, is discussion with the candidates precluded or?
Oh, heavens, no. I mean,
The announcement.
it was in the announcement?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. I'll ask the clerk to, we're just blazing all sorts of trails here at the city council. I'll ask the clerk to take a vote on the motion, please, or a roll call on the motion.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillig.
Yes.
Councilmember Jones.
I don't need to write my answer down. Yes.
Councilmember Leopard.
Yes.
Councilmember Perkins.
Yes.
That motion is approved by a vote of 5-0. And I believe, Law Director, we are still under your report.
That's right.
Please, please.
And I have, nothing else. I will just kind of summarize that I'm trying, this is an unusual process. We don't go through it very often. I'm trying to bring out possible concerns and give you some alternatives to consider. There might be some legal risks, but there's always, no matter what you do, there's legal risks. So you don't offend me at all if you don't accept advice or even some suggestions or alternatives, because that's really what they are. And ultimately, you're the ones making the decision, and I totally respect that and expect you to make those decisions. So I have nothing else at this point, but if there are any questions that maybe some issues related to the process that I've not thought of, I guess I'd like to hear about them now, so that either we can come up with an answer for you and for the public so that there is clear transparency. And if it's something that needs research, then I can do that in advance of the next meeting too. So are there any questions that anyone would have? Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Law Director Howard. We are now on to written communications.
Thank you. We have Mayor's request for legislation number 22-24 regarding the 2023 OPWC pavement repair program.
Has that been prepared as legislation tonight?
No.
No. Okay, I will refer that to the Street, Sidewalks, and Sewers Committee.
Mayor's request for legislation number 22-25 trail connectivity project.
Mayor's request for legislation 22-25 will be held on file in the clerk's office as legislation has been prepared with ordinance 22-61 this evening.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F22-23 to amend the 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate funds into the American Rescue Plan Act Fund.
Finance Director's request for legislation 22-23 will be referred to the Finance Committee.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F22-24 to amend the 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate funds into the park budget.
This is the increase in pool chemicals that has been prepared as an ordinance this evening, 22-59. So this will be held on file in the clerk's office.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F22-25 to amend the 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate funds into the 0.25% income tax public streets budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation F22-25 will be held on file in the clerk's office as legislation has been prepared this evening.
Finance Director's request for legislation number F22-26 to amend the 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate funds into the Director of Communications budget.
Finance Director's request for legislation F22-26 will be held on file in the clerk's office as an ordinance has been prepared.
And that concludes the written communications, Mr. President.
Thank you. We're now under oral communications. Anyone wishing to dialogue with this body, please sign in and direct your questions to Council President. Seeing no one at the microphone, we will move on to motions. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would so move to amend ordinance number 22-61.
Let's wait till it gets introduced and then amend it. Okay.
Okay.
I will pass.
No motions. We'll move on to resolutions.
Resolution number 22-19, introduced by Zach Perkins. Resolution approving mayor's appointment of Cade Rowe to serve a term on the Thomas Connor Memorial Commission from the effective date of this resolution until December 31st, 2022.
That is the first and I believe only reading of this resolution. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of Resolution 22-19.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance or resolution 22-19. Do I have a second? Councilmember Leopard.
I'll second the motion, Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second for approval of resolution 22-19. Any discussion? I would just like to add that being one of Cade's former teachers, it's really a joy for me to see this and to have the opportunity to vote on this. I'm very proud of you. All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Councilmember Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
And that passes unanimously, 5-0. Thank you very much, Cade.
Resolution number 22-20, introduced by Zach Perkins. Resolution approving mayor's appointment of Danny J. Yanatuno to serve a term on the Park and Recreation Board from the effective date of this resolution until December 31st, 2023.
That is the first and only reading of Resolution 22-20. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of Resolution 22-20.
Very good. Do we have a second? Councilmember Jones.
I will second that, Mr. President.
Very good. Any discussion? Well, we're very grateful to Mr. Yanatuno for his service on this board. Would you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 5-0. We'll move on to ordinances.
Ordinance number 22-42, introduced by Zach Perkins. Ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with a professional design firm for the construction, administration, and inspection services for the 2023 urban paving project.
That is the third reading of ordinance 22-42. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of ordinance 22-42.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 22-42. Is there a second? Councilmember Leopard.
Second the motion, Mr. President.
We have a motion and a second for passage of ordinance 22-42. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask clerk to take a roll.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-42 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-43, introduced by Zach Perkins. Ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with a professional design firm for the construction, administration, and inspection services for the SEN SR 18-0.07 East Perry Street reconstruction project.
That is the third reading of ordinance 22-43. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of ordinance 22-43.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 22-43. Is there a second? Excuse me. Councilmember Leopard.
Second the motion, Mr. President.
Very good. We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 22-43. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a vote on a roll on the vote.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-43 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-44, introduced by Zach Perkins. Ordinance authorizing city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and execute a contract for the SEN SR 18-0.07 East Perry Street reconstruction project.
That is the third reading of ordinance 22-44. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of ordinance 22-44.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 22-44. Is there a second? Councilmember Wilkins.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 22-44. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. We just passed ordinance 2243 on East Perry Street, but that was for the design, and this is for the contract. Two completely different things.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Very well said. Any further discussion on 22-44? Ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a roll, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-44 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-46, introduced by Zach Perkins. Ordinance authorizing and directing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with a professional design firm for preparation of the engineering and design and construction administration and inspection services for the Riverview Estates Sewer Rehabilitation Project and declaring an emergency.
That is the third reading of ordinance 22-46. Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to ask for council's passage of ordinance 22-46.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 22-46. Is there a second? Councilmember Leopard.
Second the motion, Mr.
We have a
President.
motion and a second for
Stand
approval
off.
of ordinance 22-46. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a roll, please, on the emergency.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Emergency passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the passage.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-46 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-48, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance adopting a tax budget for fiscal year 2023, attached hereto as a part hereof, and directing Director of Finance to deliver the budget to the Seneca County Auditor on or before July 20th, 2022, and declaring an emergency.
That is the third reading of ordinance 22-48. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for passage of ordinance number 22-48.
We have a motion for passage of ordinance 22-48. Is there a second? Councilmember Perkins.
I'd like to second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for approval of ordinance 22-48. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Jones.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know we spoke about this in the committee of the whole. And this is for the tax budget 2023. And if I'm looking at page 29 of ordinance 2248, expected receipts in 2023 is 39 million. Expenditures of 37.7 million. I like to round off numbers. And we're asking for real estate dollars to balance this somehow?
Sure. So from what I understood, and Kathy, please help me if I'm off base here, this is basically our justification for receiving the county dollars that we're entitled to apply for, I suppose. Now, is this like then it goes to the Board of Control or?
The Budget Commission.
Budget Commission. So this is helping the county determine their budget, and they'll determine how much we're going to receive. This is kind of our evidence, like, hey, could we have this much, please?
Okay.
And that's why it's 39 pages and not just could we have some money.
On a napkin.
So the key word in this is, I learned earlier, was projections. These are projected numbers, not hard numbers. Thank you.
Very well stated. Any further discussion? Ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a vote on the emergency, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Emergency passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the passage.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-48 passes by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-55, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance amending 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate $18,451 into the Fire Rescue Division capital budget for the purchase of workout equipment.
That is the second reading of ordinance 22-55.
Ordinance number 22-56, introduced by Ben Gillig. Ordinance amending 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate $12,500 into the Fire Rescue Division operational supplies budget for repairs to the 2005 Seagrave engine.
That is the second reading of ordinance 22-56.
Ordinance number 22-58, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance amending 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate a total of $586,827 into the American Rescue Plan Act Fund.
That is the first reading of ordinance 22-58.
Ordinance number 22-59, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance amending 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate $2,500 into the Park and Rec budget to purchase chemicals for the pool for the remainder of the summer.
This is the first reading of ordinance 22-59. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for suspension of City Council's three-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance number 22-59.
We have a motion for suspension of our three-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 22-59. Do we have a second? Councilmember Perkins.
I'd like to second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. The nice weather has resulted in more people using the pool, requiring more chemical usage.
Yeah, and what a bargain, too. I mean, $10 for a
Whole
pool
year?
pass.
Nice, yeah.
You know, I mean, shoot, you go a couple times and it's paid for itself. Outstanding. Any further discussion? I'll ask Council Clerk to take a motion on the suspension, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Suspension passes by a vote of 5-0. Take a vote on the passage.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-59 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-60, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance amending 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate $1,156,792.50 into the 0.25% income tax public streets budget for the city's portion of the Ellis Street River Bridge project.
That is the first reading of ordinance 22-60. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for the suspension of City Council's three-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance number 22-60.
We have a motion for suspension of our three-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 22-60. Is there a second? Councilmember Perkins.
Yeah, I'd like to second the motion.
Very good. We have a motion and a second for suspension of our three-reading rule and passage of ordinance 22-60. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. We are to award this contract in August, but the bids for the project were higher than the engineer's estimate of the cost of the bridge construction.
Very good. Any additional, and thank you to City Engineer Watson for the explanation earlier during Mayor Boyle's report. Any further discussion? I'll ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a roll on the suspension, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Suspension passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the passage.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-60 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-61, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance authorizing city administrator to prepare plans and specifications, advertise for and receive bids, and recommend and execute a contract for the trail connectivity project, amending the budget for the expense and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 22-61. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to amend ordinance number 22-61. The first amendment will be in the title of the ordinance, line 3. After the word execute, eliminate the word A and add S to contract. In section 1 of the amended of the ordinance, I'd like to, in line 3, eliminate the word A and add an S to the word contract. In section 2, I would like to eliminate, on line 2, I would like to eliminate the word A and add an S to the word contract.
Very good. We have a motion to amend ordinance 22-61 via elimination of 3 of the articles A and making contracts plural. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilkins. We have a motion and a second for amended ordinance 22-61. Do we take a vote then on the amendment? Council Clerk Forrest, would you please call the roll on the amendment?
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Council, I may be out of order, but I was hoping someone would explain this to the public, because if they didn't listen in at 6:45.
You're right, I
And they
forgot to
started
do
at
this.
7, and I heard drop an A and drop an A and add an S. If I was
Sure.
watching from home, my head would be spinning. But
Yeah.
again, I can't.
No, I completely understand. Finance Director, may I ask for another,
No, I think it would be-
or
I
Law
think it would be,
Director, if you
yeah.
would, if you wouldn't mind?
Yeah, if I would. The work for the trail connectivity project falls into two different categories. One is for signage and one is for striping. And those are separate, really activities that are by different types of contractors and would lend itself to separate bids, separate contracts, really for the benefit of the city. So the project by design is to be bid out under two contracts, not one. The ordinance that I prepared had a reference to one contract, which is typical for a project. But after hearing the explanation from the city engineer, it was clear to me, and I'm sure to everyone, that there really should be the authorization for more than one contract. So that's why the changes, the amended language allows for contracts, not just one contract for the trail connectivity project.
Thank you.
Excellent question. So we do have that motion. I'll back up here just a smidge, to amend the contract as presented by Councilmember Leopard. Do I have a second?
I second.
Councilmember Wilkins,
Yes.
thank you. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I will ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a vote on the amended ordinance.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-60 is so amended. Now we will read Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for the suspension of amended ordinance number 22-61. Suspension of the City Council's 3 reading rule for amended ordinance 22-61.
We have a motion for suspension of our 3 reading rule and passage of amended ordinance 22-61. Is there a second? Councilmember Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to second the motion.
We have a motion and a second for suspension of our 3 reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 22-61. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're asking for the suspension and passage to hopefully eliminate less escalating costs of the project and supply chain issues.
Very good. Any additional discussion? I'll ask Council Clerk Forrest to take a vote on the suspension, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Suspension passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Wilkins,
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Emergency passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the passage.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Leopard,
Yes.
and Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-61 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
Ordinance number 22-62, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance amending 2022 Budget Ordinance 21-105 to appropriate $1,000 into the Director of Communications budget for photography work for the City of Tiffin website.
That is the first reading of ordinance 22-62.
Ordinance number 22-63, introduced by Steve Leopard. Ordinance amending the 2022 Budget Ordinance number 21-105 to create Fund 274 One Ohio Opioid Settlement Fund and declaring an emergency.
That is the first reading of ordinance 22-63. Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask for suspension of City Council's three-reading rule and passage of ordinance number 22-63.
We have a motion for suspension of our three-reading rule and immediate passage of ordinance 22-63. Is there a second? Councilmember Wilkins.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second for suspension of our three-reading rule and passage of ordinance 22-63. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Leopard.
Thank you, Mr. President. This ordinance is so that we are able to create funds for grant dollars when received.
Very well stated. Any further discussion? I'll ask Council Clerk for us to take a vote on the suspension, please.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Suspension passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the emergency.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Emergency passes by a vote of 5-0. Please take a vote on the passage.
Councilmember Wilkins.
Yes.
Gillig.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Leopard.
Yes.
And Perkins.
Yes.
Ordinance 22-63 is approved by a vote of 5-0.
And that concludes the legislation, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Clerk Forrest. We are now under other business. Is there any other business that any council members would like to discuss, particularly with regards to the July 11th special meeting? Can anybody remind me of the time?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Very good. 6 p.m. And I would imagine, all of our candidates will be in attendance for further questions. Wanted to take a moment to appreciate the history of today, with this being our 200th year. And in the mayor's chair, we have our first female, and certainly not our last female leader of this great city, with all the talent that we have. And it was as a history geek, it was an honor to sit next to you tonight, and
Thank you very much.
I'm glad to be a part of this. Anybody have anything else we'd like to discuss? Mayor Boyle.
Just one thing I probably want to know is, as we think about the process that, for the July 11th meeting, is as there will be the question and answer portion, and we are kind of changing where the council, or the candidates, excuse me, are seating. If you guys could please, I would ask that the candidates probably arrive at least 15 minutes early so that we can ensure that those seats are saved and you guys are ready in place to be ready for the 6 p.m. start. So I think that that's probably appropriate given the change that we're doing as far as the seating.
Very well said.
Any committee meetings to announce?
No, not
I
yet.
think a finance committee meeting.
Not yet.
Let's see. Yeah, I would like to schedule a finance committee meeting. No, excuse me. Councilmember Perkins, do you have anything that you want to schedule first? We'll go. You do not.
Not yet.
Not yet.
No,
Okay.
I gotta check the calendar.
Okay. Very good. I would like to schedule a finance committee meeting for the purposes of discussing Finance Director's request for legislation F22-23 to appropriate funds into the American Rescue Plan Act Fund. Kathy, do you think that would be a lengthy meeting that we would need to have? Could we do it before our next special meeting? Do you
Probably
think?
do that, yeah. It shouldn't take long at all.
Would any members of the Finance Committee be interested in meeting at 5:30 in council chambers to discuss the request as presented? I know Dawn's not here. Steve is good. Okay. So I'd like to announce a Finance Committee meeting to be held at 5:30 p.m. on, what is the day of the week for the 11th? On Monday, July 11th, for the purposes of discussing Finance Director's request for legislation F22-23 to amend the 2022 budget ordinance to appropriate funds into the American Rescue Plan Act Fund and any other business that may come before the committee.
Haven't we done that?
Have we?
Isn't An ordinance prepared for that?
An ordinance.
We have an ordinance, Mr. President. I didn't know if you wanted to have further discussion, though, before passage outside of the regular committee, a regular council meeting.
I don't think that's necessary, so let's just say JK LOL to all that. And I think we'll just discuss it when passage time comes. Any other business to come before the committee? Councilmember Jones.
I'm just checking my notes from, I thought there was a mayor's request 22-24 assigned to the Street Sidewalk Sewer Committee.
There is. I haven't made the meeting yet.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any further business to discuss this evening? All right, we'll see everybody July 11th. We stand adjourned.